Alright, Michael Avenatti was just found guilty on all 3 charges, and it really makes me think of the expression, the villain is always the hero in his own story. Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and this is Pudge. Pudge's back legs don't work, so I sometimes holler around in little wheels. So Michael Avenatti was just found guilty on all 3 charges that he was facing in his Nike trial. Those 3 charges were interstate communications with intent to extort, attempted extortion, and honest service wire fraud. Now, I've been following this situation from the beginning, and I've done a few vlogs on the subject already. I'm going to link those right here in a playlist. Those vlogs are about a year old. I was filming inside a walk-in closet at the time. I have since been promoted to filming outdoors in minus 20-degree weather.
If you've never received a lawyer's letter, good for you. But if you've ever received one, you know that they have a pretty standard formula. They say, I am an attorney who represents the interests of Mr. Orange. You caused certain damages to Mr. Orange through your wrongful conduct. Pay Mr. Orange a certain amount of money or Mr. Orange will sue you in court. How is that not a threat that is tantamount to extortion? The courts have said that threatening civil lawsuits against an individual is not extortion. So a lawyer can legitimately threaten to sue someone in civil courts in order to obtain a sum of money that they claim is owed to their client. When does it become criminal extortion? If someone says, pay me $100,000 or I'm going to go to the police and say that you committed a crime. Even if you in fact committed the crime, that is criminal extortion. Threatening criminal or ethical complaints in order to obtain a civil settlement is criminal extortion.
Alright, jokes aside, this is first day of spring break. This is what spring break looks like in Canada. And when I want to do a video on a subject, I sort of just can't wait and have to get out and do it right away. For those of you who don't know the facts to the subject, Michael Avenatti is a lawyer. He represented the adult film actress Stormy Daniels in her lawsuit against Donald Trump, and he was also representing a guy named Gary Franklin, a youth basketball coach, in a file involving Nike. And in the context of representing Franklin, Avenatti went to Nike and said, whoa, I have evidence of criminal wrongdoing, and unless you pay my client a certain sum of money, I am going to hold a press conference and disclose all of this information to the public on the eve of your earnings in an attempt to hurt you and your company. And Avenatti didn't just make the threat on behalf of his client, Avenatti also made the threat on behalf of himself, saying that if you don't pay my client money, if you don't settle this file, I will hold this press conference, etc., etc. What you should do, incidentally, is mandate me at the price of $10 million to conduct an internal review within Nike. And I did a vlog explaining the difference between trying to negotiate a settlement and extorting a settlement. I also made a vlog predicting that Nike is going to sue Avenatti civilly for the conduct as well, but we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. And in the context of the Avenatti-Nike extortion, Avenatti tells Nike, I'm gonna go hold a press conference, release all this information, and wipe $10 billion off your market cap. 45 minutes later, he was arrested by the FBI. So Avenatti just stood trial and he was found guilty on all 3 charges. His sentencing, I believe, comes in June. And when Avenatti was convicted, Twitter is on fire. Everybody's saying the scumbag got what he deserved, etc., etc. And while I definitely believe that Avenatti got what he deserved, I am reluctant to revel in someone else's misery. There's that German concept of Schadenfreude, taking pleasure in someone else's sadness. I don't think we need to take pleasure in his sadness, although he certainly got what he deserved. But one thing I find particularly interesting about this is I guarantee you that Avenatti doesn't think he did anything wrong. There's the old expression that the villain in his own story is always the hero. And I have no doubt that Avenatti thinks of himself as something of a hero. You have to remember that while all this is going on, Avenatti is representing Stormy Daniels against big bad Donald Trump. He is doing tours on CNN, MSNBC. He's being touted as the next presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. In his mind, he can do no wrong, and while he might consider what he's doing to be somewhat aggressive pursuit of his client's interests, he is still the hero in his own story. It's not extortion. He is pursuing the interests of his client. It's not extortion. He genuinely wants to help Nike do better in the future. And for those of you who are not sure why it constitutes extortion, threatening to make a criminal complaint or threatening to disclose criminal information in an attempt to negotiate a settlement is extortion. Doing so to negotiate a personal interest when you are representing a client is extortion. And another interesting thing about the case is that Avenatti did not take the stand during his own criminal trial. And I'm sure that all of you are aware, because you've seen it in every Hollywood law movie out there, a criminal accused cannot be compelled to testify in his or her own trial. It's the prohibition on self-incrimination in the context of a criminal trial, the Fifth Amendment, but an accused need not take the stand in their own criminal trial. They cannot be compelled to do so, but if they do choose to take the stand in their own criminal trial, they cannot then refuse to answer questions on the basis of the protections offered by the Fifth Amendment. Avenatti did not take the stand in his own criminal trial, which means that he could not put up his own defense, which also means that he could not be cross-examined on the basis of his own defense. evidence. And that is a strategic defense that the lawyers and the client will make in the context of a file. Not taking the stand can be seen as a sign of strength. They're saying, oh, the prosecution's case is so weak, let them make their evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. Others might take it as a sign of guilt. If you don't want to get up on the stand and answer questions, it means that you're afraid to answer those questions. But for whatever the reason, and Avenatti may regret it insofar as he was convicted on all 3 counts, Avenatti did not take the stand. His lawyers say they are going to appeal the decision, so we'll see what happens, but from what I understand, it is very hard to appeal a jury decision. And apparently he faces something like upwards of 42 years in jail on these 3 charges, and his troubles are not even over because he still has his own Stormy Daniels problem to face. Apparently he misappropriated monies that he was holding in trust for Stormy Daniels, which were in advance on her book. His troubles are far from over. I think Michael Avenatti is getting what he deserves, but I don't think we should be reveling in his misery. He had his Epicurean moment. He flew a little too close to the sun and he got burnt up by the heat. There is a hard line between firm negotiations and outright extortion, and Avenatti didn't just cross it, he danced on it. If you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below, merch links, support links in the pinned comment, and now you know your vlog. Peace out.